Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Sorry you can't see me and you're only seeing my hands. I'm gonna be filming a palette collection video today, but I just wanted to do it this way so you guys can actually see the palette instead of me like talking about it and then just showing clips of it, if that makes any sense. I also want to apologize if you either see dog hair or if it's out of focus. One, I have 3 dogs, so there's dog hair all over the place. Second, I have a camera that doesn't focus by itself. But let's just get into the video so we're not wasting any time because we know this video is going to be long. So let's get started. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start with my Anastasia palettes. So this one right here is the Moonchild Glow Kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is one of 2 glow kits I own from Anastasia. I think that this one is amazing if you're doing more colorful looks because you have shades like Blue Ice here and Pink Heart, which are obviously different colored highlights. One is a blue and then the other one is obviously a pink. These are so pretty and I love these. And this shade right here, Star, is actually a really nice silver. It's out there. It's banging. We love her. The next glow kit I have from Anastasia is their Gleam Glow Kit. Unfortunately, this one is actually discontinued, which is really upsetting because this is my favorite glow kit personally. You guys know I have really fair skin, and this, in my opinion, is the best glow kit for pale skin because you get this Crushed Pearl shade and Starburst. These two I absolutely loved mixing together because they just look so freaking pretty and they're so blinding. Like, Anastasia, please come up with shades like these. The next face palette we have from Anastasia is their Contour Kit in light to medium. I got this when contouring was a big thing. I personally don't use it that much, even though I did get a lot of use out of this shade Fawn right here. This is a perfect contour color for my skin tone. I do really like it. It's so nice if you're pale like me. These shades are really nice as bronzers, and then these are all great if you're doing some highlighting under the eye, but unfortunately I just don't use it as much as I would like to, but it's still really good if you need it. And then we got this beauty from Anastasia. It's their lip, if I can open it, it's their Volume 1 lip palette. I really didn't even have to open this. Okay. It's their Volume 1 lip palette. I honestly have not gotten a lot of use out of this, but I think it's really awesome that a brand came out with something like this. You get just a bunch of lip colors and you get your primary shades here at the bottom so you can mix them in and create your own custom shade. I really wish I remembered that I had this when I was doing my Aquaria tutorial because I was out here saying, oh, I don't have a fuchsia shade when I have a few right here. But this is really nice, especially if you're a makeup artist. It's great. Especially for travel too, they do give you a spatula and a mixing plate, so it's also very sanitary. Alright, now we're gonna get into like all my Anastasia palettes. I have them like stacked up here. I got quite a few, but we're just gonna get, oh my gosh, we're just gonna get into all of them. So the first one, obviously, Modern Renaissance, everybody's favorite eyeshadow palette. When this came out, I was so freaking excited. You have no idea. I was like, oh my gosh, this red, like these reds right here, I don't know, something was just going through me at the time and I really wanted this palette. I would have to say this palette is one of the most used palettes, but I think that's because I was so in love with all the colors. And I don't know, just like out of all of my palettes, this one is like the grossest. It's like really mucked up and it's whatever. This is still a really good palette. Like, this is my go-to warm palette. I'm honestly surprised if you don't have this because everyone I know has this and it was either their first palette or their first high-end palette. I really recommend this because it is such a good palette and the formula is so on point. Next palette we've got here is Subculture. This was a fail for a lot of people, but I honestly really like it. I've been using it a lot lately, especially because it's fall and everything. These colors really just speak to me. The only shade I really despise in here is Cube because you don't really get anything from it, and I'm just Like, where'd you go, sister? I don't know. I'm just really upset by that shade. But other than that, I think that this palette is phenomenal. You just get this beautiful palette of muted, colorful shadows that are great for fall. And I love this. I love this palette so much. And I'm so upset that it was limited edition. This is the Master Palette by Mario. This is the most beautiful palette I have ever come in contact with, and I cannot believe I neglected it for so long. Now, there is a little bit of drama on my channel regarding this palette, and I'm going to address it right now. In my first palette collection video, I said I got rid of it. My second one, I said the reasoning I got rid of it was because I didn't like it, which was a flat out lie. I had to return it because at the time I needed the money for something else. And then my friend was selling this and I said, I will buy it off you because I want it so freaking bad. I cannot believe I returned it. But this is just an amazing palette. I know that they have a dupe for it now, but I really wish that they would re-release this. Find dupes wherever you can. I know Shop Hush has a dupe, but I can't buy it because they don't ship to Canada. But this one, I am so sad that it's discontinued. Here we've got Prism. This came out last year. This is limited edition, or was limited edition. This was my first palette that really introduced me to color. I know that's not really saying much, but it kind of introduced me to the blues, and I feel like y'all really know me for my blues and how much I love them, but this specific palette really got me. Osiris, Throne, Dimension, those are the colors that I loved the most. Obviously, we love Eternal, we love Eden, we love Pyramid, we love all the shades in here, but there's just something about this palette that is totally unique to my collection, and I don't know, I just can't figure it out. I think it's like the color to neutral ratio and how well the neutrals fit in with the colors. I think that's it, but I love this palette so much, and I'm so sad that it was limited edition. Another palette, which I'm sad is limited edition, is the Sultry Palette. I just made like a million videos on this palette, and I love this. I, again, am very upset that it's limited edition. It's great. It's full, I don't want to say it's full of cool tones because there's definitely some warm tones in here, but you do get a very nice cool tone variety, and there's a bunch of shades in here that I love and I feel like are standard for me. I love this shimmery shade. I love this silver, this really, really, really pink kind of rose gold shade I freaking love. But this palette is just so amazing. Make sure to try and get your hands on it while it's still available because it's so good. The next one is Noir Vina. I'm a little bit upset by this palette, and honestly I think I might have to declutter it because of how much I unfortunately do not like it. I don't know, I just was so disappointed in the quality. I find that the shade Soul looks really dusty. The shade Love does not look good on me. The only shades that I think are decent are Passion, Volatile, and like Dreamer, and that's it. And for me, it doesn't make any sense to keep a palette for only 3 colors, so I think I might actually be getting rid of this soon. I just want to film a video with it, and then that'll be it. Then the final palette I have from Anastasia is the Soft Glam. Again, this has become one of my favorite palettes. I talked about the Modern Renaissance and how it was like my go-to for warm tones, but this is my go-to for neutrals and like hazy looks. This like quad here, Bronze, Mulberry Noir, and Cypress Umber, these are the most beautiful shades. I love this. It's great for bridal makeup. It's great for natural everyday looks. If you're a beginner, I highly recommend this palette, especially if you're not into the whole warm tone thing. Again, I did a video comparing the Soft Glam to the Modern Renaissance, and if you want to check that out, it will be up here. So go check it out. Now we're going to talk about all my Urban Decay palettes. So this is the first one I have. It is the Urban Decay Naked Basics. This is, again, just a basic palette. You get basic neutrals. Honestly, I do like this palette if you're dealing with a palette that has more color but you want more neutrals. I think that this pairs nicely with it. Personally, I like more rosy toned neutrals, if that makes sense. That probably doesn't make sense, but this is the Naked one. I actually think this might be discontinued. I'm not totally sure. This next one is probably the oldest palette in my collection, but I still keep it for memory's sake. This is the Urban Decay Deluxe Shadow Box palette. This palette I've had the most use on. Both me and my mom have used it. I used to use Shag, Scratch, and Underground every single day when I was in high school. Those are my favorite colors. You can tell Scratch is very, very, very used up. I have never been the type of person where I can pan an eyeshadow because I am so pale. Colors typically show up really easily on me, so I don't need that much product. This palette was my go-to. I loved it. I didn't really like touch anything above. Like, I didn't deal with any of the colors, but these 3 shades were amazing. Next we have the Urban Decay and Kristen Leeann Daydream palette. I bought this with the Kaleidoscope palette, which we're going to talk about in a second, but I really like this. This is so nice. When I was kind of talking about how I wish the Naked Basics was more rosy neutrals, this is kind of what I mean. Like 1212 is my perfect transition color, just because this is something I like. Again, I'm really sad that this is limited edition because it is so perfect. Next, sorry, it might be hard to see this one because it's literally a mirror and you can like see my lights and everything. It's so great. So this is the Urban Decay Vice palette. I'm gonna open this. It's a lipstick palette and it just looks like this. Mine's, oh god, the mirror. It's a little bit banged up, I'm not gonna lie, but it's all good. Again, I wish I remembered something like this when I was doing my Aquaria tutorial because there's so many nice colors in here. If you're wondering why this looks like that, it fell out, so my dumbass tried to burn the back and see if it would melt, but it didn't. It melted the packaging, so that's my life. So then we have the Urban Decay and Kristen Leeann Kaleidoscope palette. This is my favorite colorful palette that I currently have in my collection. I love all the colors in here, and although I typically don't want to say I don't dive into color that much because I honestly do, but this is probably the colors that I dive into the most. Obviously blues, like this blue situation right here really started my love for blue. These colors look really nice together, and so do these. I just find that the way she put them together made them look really nice, and I love this palette. Now lastly, I have my Naked palettes. I only have 3. So the first one I have here is the Naked 3. This one I was gifted a few years ago because I wanted it for so long, and I know a lot of people don't like this palette, but I actually do. Like I said, I like more rosy tones, and just the shades in here are so nice. Like we have Buzz right here, Trick, and Liar. These are just more shades that I gravitate towards, and people also said they didn't like the formula, but I honestly do. I think it's pretty nice. Although the shade range isn't as great in this palette, I still think it's nice. Next we got the OG Naked palette. Unfortunately, they did discontinue this, but you can still find it places. I know that if they have some extra stock, it might be full price, but you can still get the Naked palette some places. It was not my first high-end palette ever, I'm gonna say that. I did use it when me and my one friend went to prom, I think in like 2014 or something, and I fell in love with this color Half Baked, and I know so many people did, but it's such a nice color. I just really like this palette, and you can tell it's revolutionary when literally everybody copied it. There was so many dupes of it, but nothing will ever beat the Naked palette. Like, don't at me. This is a pretty nice palette for its time. Then the last one we got here is just the Naked Smoky palette. I got this when it was on sale at Sephora for half price, and I really like it. Honestly, I think it's really nice for doing smoky looks, and that's one thing that I really appreciated that Urban Decay did, is they made an entire theme for the palette. Like, we have the Naked 3, which was rosy tones. Naked 1 was like just the basic tones, but this one you can use to create any type of smoky eye, whether it be dark, you can do more neutral, kind of like everyday smoky eye, you know what I mean? But this is just a really nice palette, and it kind of sucks that, again, it was discontinued. Now we've got some Too Faced palettes that we're going to talk about. I have the 3, these tin palettes that I want to talk about. The first one we have is the Natural Matte. This one I honestly, out of the tin palettes, I used the most. I love this one, I'm not gonna lie. This one is so nice. And you do get a few transition shades in here as well. I really like this. There's nothing I can really say about it. It's just a really good everyday palette, especially if you're a beginner or like you have a niece or nephew that is looking to wear makeup and you want them to be more conservative, I would highly recommend this one. The next palette we have is the Boudoir Eyes. This was the first tin palette I had bought from Too Faced, aside from like the chocolate bar and everything, but I really like this one. I did for a period of time. It's got very sexy names like Sugar Walls, Garter Belts, like Voulez-Vous, Fuzzy Handcuffs. It's a really nice palette, and you can create some really nice smoky eyes with this, and it's really nice. I don't know what else to say. The next one we have is the Natural Eyes palette. This one is basically the Natural Matte palette, except it has some shimmery shades in here. Whoa, that looks so cool in the camera. I'm pretty sure the Natural Matte was created after this one, and they just made the shades all matte, but there are some shimmery colors in here, and this palette is actually very nice. I just haven't gotten around to using it because I got this as a birthday gift, but I want to get into using it because I wanted this so badly. Now we're about to talk about my favorite palettes from Too Faced. I've talked about these a million times. I have a video on these. Again, if you want to see them, just check up here and you can go check it out. But this is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. I've talked about this a million times. Again, like I've said, I think these palettes are absolutely beautiful. Again, this one was my favorite. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've already said so much in previous videos. I know a lot of people like it as well. It's just a really nice everyday palette, and like I said, I like more rosy tones. There's a bunch of those in there, so you know I love it. And then we have the White Peach palette. No one really cared for this. They said the formula was different, but I personally like the formula in this one a little bit better. I think that the formula was a little bit creamier in a way. The shades may not be the best, but I did like the extra pops in here. Like we get this shimmery white, you get this glittery pink, and then you also get like this glittery dark purple black type thing. But I really did like the formula in this palette, especially this one. I found that they felt extra silky. I don't know what happened ingredient wise, but I don't know, I fell absolutely in love with the formula. It can leave a little bit of fallout, but the formula is just so nice. I really like it. Okay, now I have a few smelly peach palettes, I guess. So the first one obviously is the Irregular Chocolate Bar. The one thing I've always hated about Too Faced palettes is that they never open all the way. I've always hated that, and it still makes me kind of angry, but I really like this palette. I haven't used it for a really long time, which is kind of upsetting because the shades in here are honestly like really nice. I think I might do a tutorial with it soon because I really liked it, and if you go back to the beginning of my channel, you would know that I used it a lot, but I just don't use it as much anymore because I have other palettes I like. This right here is the Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar, also from Too Faced. I would have to say this is one of my first high-end palette purchases, I guess. This was one of the first palettes I purchased, and honestly, like, I bought it on a whim. I bought it on Boxing Day, I think in 2015, and honestly, it was kind of a mistake. I don't really care for this palette that much. It's not the best shade wise, but the quality is very nice. This blue shade, unfortunately, is actually not that good, and y'all know how I feel about my blues. Second to last palette we have from Too Faced, this is the Sweet Peach palette. I did really like this for a while, and then once the White Peach and the Sweet Peach came into the picture, this was out. I do really like this. I think there are some shades in here that are phenomenal. This color right here is amazing for setting the under eye. I really didn't think I would like it, but it's the most like pigmented white shadow I've honestly like ever come across. It's so pretty, and the formula is so nice on it, but I just don't use this palette that much. I was kind of thinking maybe it was a dupe for the Master Palette by Mario. Get back to me on that. I still want to compare them a little bit. And then lastly, everybody's favorite is the Power of Makeup and Nikkie Tutorials palette. I'm not gonna lie, I've said this in previous videos, I don't really care for this palette that much. I think the blushes are nice, the highlight sucks, the bronzer's not that great, it's very patchy, and just these eyeshadows, they're not up to par with Too Faced shadows. This palette feels exactly like their Christmas collections, just not very nice and super dry, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I know the whole drama, but we're just going to ignore that and move on. Okay, now let's talk about BH Cosmetics. This is the first palette I have here. It's just their classic blush palette. I really do like the formula of these. I just hate the packaging. I've been very vocal about the fact that I hate plastic packaging. I just don't like it. Stuff breaks easier. Even though people say it's really sturdy, it's honestly not, because I find that my eyeshadows break more when they're in metal or plastic. So this, I'm just going to buy myself like a magnetic Z palette or something and just take these out. But I really do like the quality of these, and they're so nice. This is the Bronze Paradise palette from BH Cosmetics. While the quality is nice on this palette, and it's just that's all I can say about this, is the quality is really nice. I think that the color choice was very poor. This highlight is not really even a highlight to me. It's like really dark on my skin. Yeah, it's like a rose gold type thing, but it'll only work on you if you have like deepish, like medium to deep skin. And this bronzer is kind of nice, but overall this palette like doesn't really make that much sense to me. I'm gonna probably depot it, but yeah, that's this palette. Next, we have the Galaxy Chic. If you've watched my channel since the beginning, you would know that this is one of the first videos I had on my channel, was a BH Cosmetics haul. And this was one of the things I featured. So I've had this for a really long time. Honestly, I haven't used it. It's just like really interesting to look at. Sometimes I'll dip into it here and there, but I haven't noticed anything that would deter me from using it. But I have really liked this for the period I've had it. Then the last BH Cosmetics palette I currently own is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. I have mentioned this a few times. This is not my favorite palette. I know BH Cosmetics can do so much better with their formulation, but the formula in this palette is just so poor, and honestly I was really upset when I found out that the shadow quality was just not good. Like, we'll swatch this blue, we'll swatch the purple, maybe we'll do this yellow and like this orange right here. Some of the shadows are good, I'm not gonna lie, but the ones that I want to be nice are not. Like, this yellow is really powdery, this blue is really ashy and just not nice. And I don't know, I'm just so upset. I find that the formula on this specific palette is really dry, and there's a lot of fallout, as you can see. For the time being, this is good. I honestly really want to get the James Charles palette because I just need something to replace this. Let's quick talk about Lime Crime. So the first palette I have from Lime Crime here is their Pink Lemonade Pressed Powder. What is it? Their Pocket Candy Pink Lemonade Pressed Shadow Palette. This one I purchased at Winners, but I had looked at it online and found it really interesting and I wanted to buy it. These are very reminiscent of Polly Pockets, if y'all remember those. This is a really pretty palette and I really like it. I think the mattes are very nice. This shadow in the middle is very crumbly. I don't know if you can tell when I'm swatching it. It just like immediately picks up a shit ton of powder and like there's nothing really there. Like, there is, but like it's nothing what I wanted it to be, if that makes sense. But these shades right here, while they are nice, they aren't the best. And I was definitely a little bit disappointed from Lime Crime, to be honest, because I expected so much more. Next, I have the Venus one. Again, this was one of those palettes I used when I first started my channel. This one does have a lot of use as well. I really love this shade Muse. I've never had something that was this deep and blood red. It was one of my favorite shades when I first started getting into makeup, and I had a feeling that red was going to be my thing, but now blue's my thing, so I do really like this palette. I want to try the other ones that they came out with, like the Venus 3 and the Venus XL. I think I would really like those, but for now, I'm good with this one. I also have the Venus 2, which I've been getting into a lot more. I think I said a really long time ago that I didn't know when I'd ever use this because it just looks so weird. But I've been using this mustard shade, marsh, like every single color in this palette. It's just so pretty and I love this palette. It's quickly how I can easily go from wearing this every single day to wanting to wear this all the time. All right, let's move on to Milani. Again, this one has a mirror front, so it might be a little bit difficult to see, especially with the lights, but this is the Most Loved Mattes palette. This have I even used this? No, I haven't. My parents went on vacation and they said, if you want anything, let us know. And I said I wanted these because you can literally not find them anywhere near me. So they got me this and I'm really excited. I love how they have like a neutral row, a purple row, and like a warm tone row. It's just so nice, so versatile. If you're looking for something with a little bit of everything, I highly recommend this one. Then also from Milani, we have the Bold Obsessions palette. And this one I love. This one is so nice. The metallics in here are honestly better than most drugstore eyeshadows I've ever tried. These are up to par with Anastasia. I've talked about how much I love Anastasia formulas. These are some of the most comparable eyeshadows I have ever tried. Like, oh, sorry. I went a little aggressive with that. I got too excited. These are just the prettiest metallics ever. Like, what? This one is just a different level of excitement because it is such a beautiful palette. So now we're just going to move on to ColourPop because that's what I have sitting here. I have the Dream Street palette from Kathleen and ColourPop. I love this one. I just love anything from Kathleen. I feel like she's really smart in knowing what people want. ColourPop is too, but she knows what people really, really, really want. I saw this palette and I knew I had to have it. Not just because it was Kathleen, but because this is so gorgeous. Like, you get blues, you get some really beautiful metallic shades, and you get like a pink and beautiful transition colors. Like, this is everything you need in a palette and more. Then next and last from ColourPop, we have the Zodiac palette. This one is more recent. This is a beautiful palette. I know a lot of people actually don't want this palette because it looks like everything else, just if you get rid of the colors. It's just a basic kind of neutral palette, but I think that these colors really add something to it. I've actually been getting a lot of use out of this. This is what I used in my last video. I did get some people asking, so this is what I used in my makeup brushes video. Now that we're on the topic of Kathleen, I just want to quickly mention I also have the Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette. Again, I did a video on this comparing it to the Zodiac palette. This one is really, it's nice. The formula is just not great. For the time, I thought it was really nice. Yeah, this is also my only Morphe palette, so that's that. Actually, I lied. I have one more Morphe palette. It's this one right here. This is the NC Jewel Crew palette. This is the same thing the Too Faced thing does. It just doesn't like go backwards and I hate that. But it just looks like this. I don't like the formula of this. I'm not gonna lie. I really don't like it. They're way too dry. And they're very hard. So this first one we have here is the Tarte Lip Tease. I think this is discontinued. It's just a 6-pan palette, very simple, good for travel. You get a matte shade, you get a defining shade, you get some shimmery shades. It's pretty good. I just don't use it. This one from Tarte this is the Beauty and Brains eyeshadow palette. It's just an 8-pan eyeshadow palette. I think that this is good if you're on a budget. I don't think that they have this anymore. I think this is limited edition, but it's really nice. You just get some neutrals and like some pops of color like this green. I don't think the formula is anything to write home about, but it's pretty nice for what it is. And that's all I really got to say about it. Then the last Tarte palette I have is the Man Eater palette. I'm not sure if this is the volume 1 or the volume 2, but I do really like this. This palette reminds me of the Soft Glam from Anastasia, just like a more condensed version. There was like a period when I used this so much, even though it doesn't look like it. Like I was saying earlier, I don't really use much eyeshadow. That's why I never hit pan on anything. But I do really like this. I think it's discontinued, but I'm not sure. From Wet n Wild, I have a few eyeshadow palettes. The first one is the Comfort Zone. Everyone has this. I know that they've recently came out with a new and improved version, but honestly, I like this one. I like the layout, and I prefer this one. I also have these two palettes. This one is not a basic peach, and then this one is Nude Awakening. I know that they had other ones. They had that like Modern Renaissance duped one, but honestly, like I already have the Modern Renaissance. There's no point in getting another one. I liked this one because it was very cool toned, and I don't want to say it's nothing I have. At the time, I didn't have anything like this, but now I do. But I really like this, and for a drugstore tutorial, this is awesome. Also the same with this. This is the first time I had really seen any nice color in an eyeshadow palette from the drugstore. And Wet n Wild is so affordable. It was kind of just like, why wouldn't I not get this if you're getting a blue? I love blue eyeshadow because y'all know I'd buy blue anything. Another palette I have is from NYX. This is just their Sweet Cheeks blush palette. I've heard really good things about this, and I saw it on clearance one day and I decided to pick it up, and I've been really happy with it. I love the blush colors they included, especially this one. Y'all know I really love deep mauve blushes. The next one I have here is the Pixie and Chloe Morello Romantic Radiance palette. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to open. It just looks like this. She says she was inspired by planning her wedding to create this palette. So it's a very nice bridal palette. The one thing I would say it's missing is there's no matte colors in here. So if you wanted to put something into the crease, I feel like you're kind of just stuck with this shimmery color right here, or these really dark shades at the bottom. She says that these are really good for eyebrow colors, and they are. I just wish there was more matte shades in here. That's the one thing that I'm getting at. Other than that, the blushes are absolutely beautiful. But I don't get this mirror. Like, no one will be able to use this. Like, if they put a brush in here instead, I'd be a little bit happier than just a mirror. Because, like, I cannot see out of this. And it's distorted. Like, what the frick? Speaking of Chloe Morello, I have her Pretty Fun and Fearless palette with Ciate London. Oh god, this palette looks pretty banged up. It's a very nice palette. I haven't had much time to use it. There was just one day I went really swatch happy and I made the palette really gross and disgusting. But this palette is honestly so beautiful. I love these transitions. These greens at the bottom are really nice. I really like the quality. I just don't get around to using it as much. I lied. I have another Tarte palette. Sorry, I forgot. I'm stupid. This is the Tarte Blush Bazaar Amazonian Clay Palette. This was limited edition last year. Basically, it's just a blush palette, and they're mini blushes. The one thing I don't like that Tarte does is they come out with blush palettes like this. It's just random blushes. It's nothing that they will permanently carry, and it's kind of disappointing. I get this is like trying out the formula, but maybe I want some of these blushes in real life, like this one right here. Angelic. This is a beautiful nude blush, and maybe I want to go purchase it, but you know what? Tarte doesn't have it, so what's the point? Speaking of blush palettes, we have the Blush Bar from Benefit. This is probably one of my favorite palettes that I own, just because it's such a good value. You get a full-size bronzer and a full-size blush, and then you get like half the size of these two. But this is such a good value. Like, honestly, you're going to be seeing this in a gift guide video because this is such a good product, and I just really like it. Okay, then we have another palette here. This is the Violet Voss Flamingo palette. This one I was so excited for the summertime because y'all know I love my color and I love my blues. Yes, queen. So I was so excited when this came to Sephora, and immediately I picked it up. This palette is amazing. I actually think it's limited edition. Whoops, which is really annoying because every single product I love is limited edition, and I hate that. This formula I don't hate, but I don't love. It reminds me of Too Faced in the way that it's actually very hard and kind of stiff, but it's very pigmented, and that's one thing I think Too Faced kind of lacks. While it is pigmented, this one is very rich in color. I like this palette though, and I think it's really beautiful, especially with the variety of colors. There's barely any neutrals in here, and that's what I really like and what I was expecting. Now I'm just going to briefly talk about my two Z palettes. They're not technically palettes, like buyable palettes, but I want to show you guys anyways. This first one is my ColourPop Z palette, and this basically houses all my colorful shades. A lot of these range from, sorry, there's hair everywhere. A lot of these range from Morphe shadows to ColourPop, Anastasia, Makeup Geek. That's basically what I have. And I just really like these because I have a lot of single shadows. Then this one is just my Sephora Collection Z palette. This one houses more of my warm shadows, the same brands and everything. If you want to see a video of me talking about what's in these palettes, let me know and I will be glad to do one. Now I have two palettes from Huda Beauty. The first one is the Mauve Obsessions palette. This one I got because I heard good things about it, and I really wanted something that was more pink because y'all know I love my pinks and my blues, which is what the next palette is. It's the Sapphire Obsessions, and this one is just blues. I think that this is the most beautiful palette I've ever seen, and I like how it was condensed to just blue color, and I think that the eyeshadow formula in these palettes are so good, and I highly recommend them. We're gonna go on to the last palette. I feel like I went through them really quickly. I'm sorry if I did, I didn't mean to. But this is the last palette we have. It's the Sugar Pill and Trixie Mattel Oh Honey palette. I bought this in hopes of making a video with it, but I haven't used it enough to really say anything about it. I do like the blush, I will say that. But I just didn't really get around to using this, and the first time I did use it, I didn't love it. But hopefully it'll change, because like I said, I have barely used it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I'm like bending. I'm gonna break my wrist doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos like this one, please make sure to subscribe down below as well. And I will see you guys in my next video.